Now, gold prices are in a major focus right now ahead of the US CPI print due to be released on Wednesday at 1:30 UK time. Now, gold is extremely sensitive to US interest rate expectations and dollar moves. This has meant that gold prices are being pushed and pulled around on expectations surrounding the future path of US rates. So last week we saw stronger US economic data with very strong ISM services PMI print and strong initial and continuing jobless claims data, all of which was a natural headwind for gold. Therefore, gold is a really helpful instrument for expressing a bias in how the Fed is doing in its inflation battle. Now, on Wednesday, the markets will find out how inflation is doing. Now, if inflation comes in higher than the market's expecting, that should send the yields higher, dollar higher, and gold lower. On the other hand, if inflation comes in lower than the markets are expecting, you can see expectations here, this should send yields lower, the dollar lower, and gold higher. So do note these interesting seasonals too over the US CPI print. This show gold has a 60% upside bias across the print, but on the day before and the day after the meeting. So will we see gold gain into Wednesday's CPI meeting? And will gold prices end up moving lower if the CPI print comes in much higher than the market is expecting? You see there was a selling bias in the 2 days after the CPI print with an average fall of minus 0.23%. So when it does fall, it tends to fall much greater than when it gains, after, on the 2 days after the event over the last sort of 5 years. So major trade risks, there are major two-way risks here for both buyers and sellers, as this event is likely to be very volatile. The biggest risk is if markets ignore the latest CPI print and instead focus on the big picture that inflation, even if lower than economists were expecting, is still way above the Fed's target. Remember that HYCM clients can access the SeasonX product in order to analyze over 25,000 different currencies, indices, commodities, as well as individual stocks. And all you need to do is contact your account manager for a free trial and you can get started right away. Certain products and services mentioned herein may or may not be available to all clients, depending on which HYCM Capital Markets Group entity their trading account adheres to.